that. Okay, I am here only to be truly helpful. I am here to represent him who sent me. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do because he who sent me will direct me. I am content to be wherever he wishes, knowing he goes there with me. I will be healed as I let him teach me to heal. Amen. All right, we'll make sure the volume is up.
He who sent.
Good question.
Separation.
No, well, but he who sent me would be the original connection with God. So that isn't about separation. Okay. All right. So we are going to go to, let's see, text 388, and I will find your page.
388.
Text 388, that is correct. And for you, it would be 362. And the section is called I Need Do Nothing. And we're going to mute. Oh, okay.
I need to do nothing.
Well,
I'm getting used to it.
I'm getting used to it, okay. Yeah. All right, so before we go on to that section, there was another section that referred to not needing to do anything that we read before we started with this, that I just want to recap just a couple of lines because I think it's helpful to become aware of what he's always trying to tell us is we don't know the answer, God does know the answer, and if you're stepping in front of him, I guess you could say, you are not allowing his answer to come forward. And the first one is, your part is only to remember this: you do not want anything you value to come of a relationship. So basically what that means is we really don't know what the outcome of a healed relationship would be, or what it would look like, or how it's supposed to transpire, which of course is pretty anti our very existence on planet Earth, because we always think we know. We always think we have the answer, and of course we always know we're right, of course. Another line is, you are the learner, he is the teacher. Do not confuse your role with his, for this will never bring peace to anyone. So once again, if we're the ones stepping in and trying to be the teacher instead of the learner, then we don't allow room for him to fill in that space. And one final one, leave him his function, for he will fulfill it if you but ask him to enter your relationships and bless them for you. And again, he's the only one that could bring that healing or blessing to the relationship. As long as I'm doing it on my own, I'm in charge, and he can't come in. All right, so
Reminds me of a shortened prayer that I think a sponsor told me in a 12-step program, and it's like, I can't, he can, I think I'll let him.
exactly. And I think one of the kind of the beauties of the Course is it keeps trying to help us understand how frequently we're not doing that.
Yes.
Because I think a lot of times we look at working with the Course of, okay, if I get upset, this is a time to call on the Holy Spirit, but which is true, but that we can literally call on him all the time. Because there's a lot of times I may not be, quote unquote, physically upset about a situation or scenario, but I'm still running the show.
Yeah. And you forget we have a pause button.
And we forget we have the pause button, yes, or the empty space, whatever you want to call it, yeah. All right, so we actually did read the first 3 paragraphs before, so I will just basically read a couple lines from each of those, and then we'll start with paragraph 4 and begin by reading that. So the first line, of course, this section is called I Need Do Nothing, and I think a lot of times when people read that section or become aware of that section, they think, oh, I just sit here and don't do anything. And, I know most of us are old enough to remember the 70s where people would meditate on their belly button and all that kind of stuff that we've all gone through in our history in the past. And that's not what it means. It means you walk through life, you act like a normal person, you do the normal things that normal people do. This concept of needing to do nothing is in your mind. It is not deciding in your mind what's right or wrong or good or bad. It's deciding in your mind that you don't know, which is the I do nothing, I just wait for the answer to come forth. So the first line in that paragraph says, you still have too much faith in the body as a source of strength. What that means is that we're always depending on my body, my interpretation of the world through the lens of my body, by what I see, I hear, I feel, I sense, I experience. And he's trying to help us understand, literally, if you're aligned with your body and not your mind, those are two opposite and mutually exclusive situations. And if I'm playing body, I'm not playing mind. And I'm literally closing off the ability to understand his response instead of mine.
So aren't you, your mind is, if your problem is with your body, you have to go to your mind to help it.
Right, and good point, because obviously where we're sitting, we're gonna be triggered by our mind, okay? Stuff in our mind, or excuse me, in our body, not our mind.
Right.
We're gonna be triggered with issues that appear to be affecting our bodies.
Right.
Okay, and that's how you know that you've lost your peace oftentimes. And this is about then going to the coming with empty hands to, I don't know how to solve this problem. I come to you. You show me what the answer is.
Well, that's kind of relief, because
No, very much so.
you always think that, you have to think of something in order to heal your body. There's some specialist you have to go to, or some doctor who's going to, and I guess it's, not that you shouldn't do whatever you want to do, but how, in the end, that's not the answer, that people die. They go to these doctors, but they still,
Right.
people just die. That's how it works. We're going to die sometime. And how that can work on your mind, and how, I guess I was just thinking how death seems to be the physical body's death and relative or someone you love is like the pinnacle of like, this is it, this is horrible, I can't, how can this be? They were just here yesterday, talking about what they used to say, and then they're
Right.
not there. So that was somehow, I don't know what got me going on that, just at that moment.
Well, and certainly, within the illusion, and the Course speaks of this, it appears that there's birth and there appears that there's death. And the Course would say, in truth, there is no birth or death. But while we believe in the illusion, which we all still very much do, obviously we're going to be affected by the concept of death. And certainly we rejoice over the birth of a new baby as well. Same thing, on the opposite side. And yet, in oneness, there's eternity where there is no birth or death. There is only truth of who we really are. So even in the midst of somebody physically leaving this world, obviously we're all still very attached to our bodies, and we will be affected by the loss of another physical body. But that's a beautiful time to come to the Holy Spirit and say, you keep telling me there's no death. I don't get that. Look what's happening over here. Show me that death, or the finality, the birth of death of a body is not real, because I don't get that. That doesn't make any sense where I'm sitting. And those can be really absolutely wonderful times to really practice the Course of, show me your truth, because through my lens, this is not what I'm seeing or experiencing.
And yet you're going to see that the body is
And
gone,
yes.
and that's the trigger then for you to go deeper.
Correct.
Or you're so, grieve.
Yes,
Grievances
correct.
That's a grievance. You have to carry that through. I guess the Course helps us to get to the point where we can allow the grieving, and then
Right.
see how how the things that you remember about that person are in your mind, and I guess are in the universal, are in everyone, it's in the mind of all of us.
Yep, exactly, exactly.
Well, Mary Ann?
Yeah.
I had this conversation with this Christian friend of mine. I was trying to present to him this idea of a false god, because the Course talks about a false god.
Correct.
And the piece that he couldn't fathom or really understand is that why would God not punish his people if his people are doing the wrong things? You know, like if you look at Sodom and Gomorrah, for example, in the Bible, you could say, okay, these people there are doing the wrong things, therefore we need to correct them. If I'm a loving God, I would correct the people.
Right.
You know, and he just could not understand, you know, that concept.
That's because the God of truth doesn't know anything about what we're dreaming. And nothing that we're dreaming is real. So why would he come and try to fix it?
And he doesn't know about it because, not because he's stupid, but
Because it's not real.
this is a he. It's like a universal energy. I wouldn't say energy, but I don't know that that's even how it would be. It's not really a person going around, because that makes makes God into an evil, bad person, or he's a judge. He becomes judgmental of the whole, of everything going on. And then why would he allow that to happen? Because it isn't about, that isn't the dynamic of it. That isn't the dynamic of it. If God is God, he's not involved in all the things that we're doing. He's hovering over as perfect love.
Isn't it up to us, just up to us? He's not a vindictive God or a policeman.
Correct.
It's up to us.
Because then you've made God into your likeness, the way you would do it. You use ego to make a God. This is how I would feel about it, and God better hurry up and get here and do something about it.
Sure. We all want God to fix my world.
Yeah.
According to me, of course.
Well, I mean, that's how, even when they call on people, you know, in public life call on God, they're talking about somebody to come and make everything okay for us, not anything about, I don't know what the other opposite of that is, but just, you know, they're looking for, you're asking for something. You want your problem solved.
Right. And there's actually places in the Course where it specifically states that the true God knows nothing of the dream. The dream was made in an opposition to what represents God as oneness. And it's all duality. And we're the ones that play in duality. It would be no different than if your kids were all playing on the floor, playing war games with, you know, little people and whatnot. They kill each other and they do this and they're nice to one person and not to another. As a parent, you just watch them play the game and you know the game is not real. It doesn't have to be fixed. It's not real. And the God that we've made, or in the Course calls it the God of sickness, is a God that we've projected our guilt, sin, and fear on. And so he sees us as somebody who would come and try to fix the world and you know, condemn some people and love some people. The God of truth just is love. He's nothing else. He's oneness and he's love. And so are we. Except for when we accept ourselves as the opposite of that. I don't know if that helps.
I think it does. There's this idea that you're presenting, or that the Course is presenting, that God doesn't know the dream at all, that the world is an attack on God. In fact,
That's exactly correct.
you know, but when I'm speaking to somebody who is a Christian,
Not going to go over too well.
yeah, it's not going to go over too well, and I don't know how to bridge that gap, because as soon as you say God is, you know, doesn't know the world, he said, what are you talking about? God doesn't know the world. God's in everyone. God's not in everyone, but God is holy. There's a Trinity. There's this. There's that. You know.
And God created the world and all the people in it. Yes,
right? God
exactly.
created the world.
Little green apple.
Yeah. And you would just say, this is my belief and yours is different.
And you just part at that point, right?
You know, because if you're just banging heads, that's not going to really accomplish a whole lot.
I just don't know what the bridge is there.
Right, yeah. Well, and the bridge could be, this is where I'm coming from, and that's where you're coming from. You know, and Ken wrote a book, and I don't remember the title offhand, but it was written with him and a Catholic priest. And they sat down. Ken said what the course was about. The Catholic priest gave every detail about what Catholicism was about, not as a conflict between the two of them, but just as a realization of this is what the course says, this is what Catholicism say, and they're not the same.
No, they're definitely not the same, and even if, you know, the dream could be anything, you know.
And it is anything, right?
I mean, it could really be, you know, anything. So for you to say that God doesn't know the dream, doesn't really concern himself with the dream, or if he did concern himself with the dream, he would make the dream real.
That is correct as well.
So, you know, what specifically is the stumbling block between the Christian worldview at that point and the course? What is the place where they're incompatible? They're
I would say from the get-go. You know, and
It's like oneness or two-ness.
exactly. And I think, you know, at one point in time, Helen was upset with somebody who she felt was teaching the course improperly and whatnot. And she got a message from Jesus, and basically he said, you know, everybody has the right to believe and experience whatever they have to experience, and that doesn't make them wrong and you right. It's just that this path leads you in this direction, theirs leads them in a different direction. And, you know, he even talked about, or Ken talked about seeing Mother Teresa, thank you. And Mother Teresa's approach to, you know, like I think she was talking about abortion, was totally and completely different than what the Course would look upon this as. But he said also, while she spoke, she spoke of it through the lens of love. There was never an attack. It was never a judgment. She was just sharing her experiences from the Catholic Church. And so the deal is, am I coming from love when I'm having a conversation with somebody, sharing my views versus their views? And it doesn't have to be a battle or a fight. They're going up a different part of the mountain than you are. And I always like to think of it, if I'm climbing up the mountain and you're way on the other side, I'm going to say, Jason, there's a tree on the right-hand side. Grab a hold of it. And you don't have a tree on the right-hand side, so you can't grab a hold of it. You're gonna find what takes you up the mountain that works. And for every church that's available on planet Earth, for every spirituality, for every thought system, there is an investment in that at that particular time in that person's life they believe is correct. And it's not for any of us to prove them wrong.
And ultimately, it's just humans trying to double down on their story.
Exactly. Exactly.
Whatever version of the story
Absolutely. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
all a big mystery.
Yeah. And Ken would even, used to say, this is a fairy tale too. Don't make it more special than somebody else's. But if this one resonates with you, find out what it means. So, yeah.
I found myself just saying to people, nobody else except the people I've met here
Right.
abide by this teaching. I have a very good friend who's a Jehovah's Witness, and we talk shop about God once in a while. And I mostly just say, I see myself heading into what she's saying, and I know I don't agree, and I say, I don't know. Then we go talk about what's for lunch, or something. We just don't stay, because those are the things politics and religion are the two things that
Sure.
get hot water talking to other people, because if you don't agree, that's what causes all the problem. So I just say, that's a perfect opportunity to say, I really don't know. I don't know what she's thinking. I don't know what she has to fulfill. I think that's probably.
I think there's passages in the Bible that talk about forgiveness and I don't know the passages, but there is the book Jesus and Forgiveness, which Ken talked before also,
Right.
where the whole second section has sections from the New Testament that he describes in terms of the torch. So I can share that with you.
All right, so in paragraph 1, line 4, it says, "No one accepts atonement for himself who still accepts sin as his goal." And anytime we're accepting anything that has to do with the body, we're literally accepting sin, because the body was projected into the world as a place to hide the guilt, sin, and fear that's in our minds. And if we're aligned with the ego, we're aligned with the body, and we're aligned with some aspect of sin. So paragraph number 2, "There is one thing that you have never done. You have not utterly forgotten the body." And as we rise above the battleground and choose for truth instead of separation, eventually we will literally be up here and we'll remember that we are not the body. But right now, that's usually a split second where we pop back down, pop down here because we will have collapsed the time. And at that moment, we are back down into the time frame. But each time we rise above the battleground and we have that holy instant, when we come with empty hands, we are literally, number one, collapsing time. We're spending more time in the aspect of I am not the body, and we are growing our understanding of that versus the collective experience of the body in the world. So rising above the battleground and asking for healing is very helpful and very powerful, because not only am I healing my mind, I'm actually collapsing the time that I would have to live through in order to accomplish things as I would do it in the world.
So would you say that's on the backside of I don't know?
Oh, big time.
So the minute you say I don't know, you've risen, you're giving up on that subject
Exactly.
for the moment. And
Exactly.
you're going back to where you feel more comfortable and you trying to
Yes.
make it for yourself, figure it out for
Yeah.
yourself.
And even that one line that I read, your part is only to remember you do not want anything you value to come of a relationship. When I come from I don't know in relationship to whatever issues that I happen to be playing in at this moment, I'm literally saying, okay, this is how I feel, but I really don't know, and I want you to show me. And that is rising above the battleground, because I am not playing in the arena of I know and I'm the body and I'm important and I'm valuable. This is I don't know. I'm releasing all aspects of me knowing anything.
And I guess that part is hard to swallow when you first start.
Absolutely.
That I don't know anything. But if I say I don't know in that moment about that particular thing, I've risen above the battleground, and it's showing me how it's not going to kill me if I say I don't know. And nobody's going to think I'm stupid. So it's interesting how when you try that out, just from a point of where you really, you don't know.
Right.
I guess it's a lot of guilt if you think you're supposed to know. And then that's the only thing happening. You either think you're supposed to know or you know you don't know.
Yep.
And it feels better to not know.
Well, yeah, especially when you're told you didn't know anyway.
I mean,
It's
you're trying
kind
to
of a
somebody
refreshing
that
experience.
knows it all, so you can't tell them you say
End of discussion.
you don't say you don't know anything, which is what that's a way people.
Right,
God
sure.
bless 'em.
You say I don't know that.
Right.
What do you care if you don't know anything?
Well, we
Well,
do.
big deal.
A lot
I
of
used to care a lot. Now I care a little bit less, but I still care. I don't want to be Dumbo.
Why not?
I don't know. It doesn't.
Why assign that
I don't know.
label to yourself? It doesn't make you a dumb.
Okay.
Were you going to say something, Helene?
Lots of Catholic school and Latin lessons and things never mind.
I know what you're talking about. They don't know either, but they're not willing to admit it.
Doesn't it seem that, we're each climbing this mountain and, I'm on this side and you're on that side.
Absolutely.
But as we climb, the space narrows. And what I notice is that when you're maybe in this layer up here, that's where the Buddhists are, that's where the Zoroastrians are, that's where,
Right.
everybody, because there's like less,
Right. You're not
Stuff.
playing in the form
Right,
as much.
right.
Yes. Yeah.
there. there's like a, you can't put it into words.
Right, good point. Yep. All right, so paragraph 3, in no single instant does the body exist at all. It is always remembered or anticipated, but never experienced as now. So it's trying to help us understand that in truth, your body doesn't exist. And you know, I talk about the projection on the screen. We know if you go to the movie theater, you see a white screen before the movie starts, and then you'll see a projection on the screen. But there really aren't any bodies there. It appears to be bodies there because of the projection from the slide in front of the light that's projected onto the screen. But in truth, it doesn't exist. And it says only its past and future make it seem real. And how do I keep experiencing the world? Is because I'm always looking at the past or the concern for the future, and I'm almost never in the space of now. And this course is really about bringing us back to the now as frequently as possible, because you cannot find the answer to truth. You might find answers of the world by evaluating the past and projecting into the future, but you won't find the understanding of who you are beyond the world. So in other words, you might find answers here, but you won't find this answer, because this answer is nothing that can be found here. All right,
So,
time,
Mary Ann,
yes.
If I say I don't know, I can still drive a car, right?
Of course.
So I know something about driving a car.
Okay, but the I don't know that this is talking about is not that you don't have understanding of things, the way the world operates. This is about when you're in an experience of connecting in a way where you think you're right and somebody else is wrong. Okay, you don't know the outcome of a scenario in oneness when you're playing in duality.
But that's like the scientific method. If the scientific method was applied properly, you know, you basically have a hypothesis of what you want to do. You try to prove the hypothesis is true. If it's true,
You're talking
It's
about
all an ego
intellect.
construct.
I'm not talking about intellect. I'm talking about scientific method. I'm talking
And
about,
that is an intellectual pursuit, and
okay,
it deals with the physical world,
Right,
It's an ego construct.
right,
okay? What the Course deals with is knowledge with a capital K.
right. That transcends all
Find it
information.
okay.
So in the world that we're playing in, the scientific method works most of the time. Not even all the time. So, so we're in a matrix. The matrix has rules, and part of those rules is 1, 2, 3, 4, A, B, C, D. Test with a blind group, test with a group that has a placebo, and then a group that has the experimental drug.
Sure.
Right, so are using the scientific method.
Right.
But really, the drugs wouldn't work if we didn't have minds.
Well, if we didn't have bodies and minds, we wouldn't need a drug to fix it anyway.
Right.
I think they're
It doesn't
getting
work.
closer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And be very,
It's a duality concept.
right,
And it sort of works, but it doesn't even work all the time here.
Well, we're saying I don't know.
Yeah.
right,
And
yes.
then, or you say I know nothing if you go that
Yeah.
far.
Yep,
Right.
You know, so therefore you can't function in the third dimensional reality in a matrix. You can't do it.
Yes, you can.
Unless you
But-
think you know, you can't do it to some extent. I mean, you have hypothesis, you have beliefs that you can put forward and stuff like that you can apply.
but what if there's let's say you're applying something that's very practical in the world, but let's say there's really another answer that's beyond this. If you insist that your way of doing it is the only way, you won't have access to the possibility of something that is a higher level of understanding than the one you're in.
I'm not saying you insist that it's the only way.
Okay,
I'm saying that you use it as a working hypothesis.
okay.
Is it the difference
If
between
you wanna
knowing
be
and
right
belief?
in the
You
world.
believe that if you drive your car in a certain way, you don't know that if you drive your car in a certain way that it's gonna keep you safe, but you believe that. Is that the difference?
I think that's what I'm talking about, is the difference between knowing and belief, and that we have to have some kind of belief to function.
I'd say we're pretty good at thinking we have beliefs.
At some level, and those beliefs can be proven wrong,
Right.
you know, but you're open to those beliefs being proven wrong.
Right.
And the problem I have with what you're saying in a certain sense, I understand it, I was a biology person for years, but, the problem is that I've discovered through the course and some other things, that it's not just me believing. There's a mind that's functioning throughout society. I don't even have to have beliefs. It has beliefs for me.
Sure, I get that. That's
Well-
the unconscious, that's what,
I don't know if you call it unconscious, superconscious, whatever that term.
that's what Jung talked about, was the
Yeah,
unconscious.
collective unconscious,
Collective unconscious.
whatever you wanna call it.
Right, but understand
It's just,
that when we chose to separate, the mind became a programmed robot that was a mind that believed in the opposite of this.
right.
And that's what's running this character without even knowing that it's running my character.
I know you get that puppet thing in there somewhere.
Yeah, it's probably in the bag, but yeah. Haven't taken the puppets out for a while. But yeah, and so the puppet is operating by the choice. And if it's the choice was the ego, the puppet's going to operate as a puppet from that choice. When I switch to this at any given instant, I'm saying, I want the Holy Spirit to operate my puppet.
Right, that collective hallucination, which is the belief in separation, is what dominates all of us.
Big time.
If you believe in God.
It's the default. Well, let's just put it that way. It's the default.
Correct.
It isn't
Right.
necessarily.
It's what's operating the show unless I ask.
Right.
All right. All right, so I'm going to read that first line in paragraph 3 again. At no single instant does the body exist at all. Of course, we think we exist, obviously, and we're very identified with thinking about this body and being who I am. Notice the next line. It is always remembered or anticipated, but never experienced as now. Okay? That's very important.
Where are you reading?
Paragraph 3, line 2.
Okay.
So in order to get to the place of now means I have to relinquish the past and the future, because the past and the future don't fit in the now space. And that doesn't mean, let's say you're having a confrontation with somebody and you're very upset, you're very angry, and you're, swirling around the room as it sometimes is experienced. You're going to be full of energy thinking you know an answer and you know how to solve this problem and you know how to fix it. This is saying, okay, go through that process, but when you're ready, come with empty hands and approach the altar with, I don't know. And this doesn't mean you wake up every morning and go, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. It's in the midst of a scenario where you're really being, twirled around, I guess you could say. And recognize that everything you're experiencing is coming from what you knew of the past or what you know of concern or fear of the future, which keeps you null and void of the now, where an answer beyond you can possibly come. So when you can come to that place of I don't know, you show me what the answer is, that's when the shift can happen. And we'll just take this little guy out here. Again, if you're coming from the past, the future is going to look the same as the past because it's based on the past. When you come from a place of now, right, slide over there, come from a place of now with empty hands, you are then opening to a totally different experience that does not come of you.
It's just very simply thinking of my body wanting a piece of pie. My body is anticipating, but it's never in any moment, it's always in the past anticipating.
Of course.
So in the future, just thinking it's going to be something wonderful or whatever. But
Based on the past.
when I'm
Right.
actually having the pie, nothing's happening.
Well, if you're eating the pie and you're experiencing it and you're enjoying it, or maybe you don't enjoy it, maybe you hate it, that's the experience you're having in that moment. But it's not based on something from the past or future. And I'm sure all of you have gone to, say, a restaurant and you just loved your meal. And then one day somebody said, where you want to go to eat? Oh, I want to go to that restaurant because I had that really good meal. And you go, and it's just not the same because your anticipation of it took the place of the experience of having it.
You know, the real problem is that the world doesn't allow for anything to be different.
Then what is?
Allow
Yeah.
for the possibility of something else.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, 2 + 2 is 5. It allows everything to be, whatever it may be.
When you
And
come to
don't
that
have to
place.
face- Because we've gone to restaurants, and it wasn't the same as the first time we went, but it doesn't make the restaurant bad or
Correct,
good.
right.
It just wasn't the same. So what? The meal was a meal.
But what I'm saying, if you come with that anticipatory experience that it has to be like it was before, then
Well,
you
you've
close
got
your
an
door to that.
investment
Of
in
course.
everything out here.
That's how most people operate the world, yes.
That's a pretty, like a low bar of what you're expecting, right, in your life is to have the same food that you, I mean, you're gonna say, well, okay.
Yeah, but who said so?
I mean, but
You
if
set
it
that
hasn't-
standard.
Right, but if it didn't have, I guess then that would be, order of miracles would be that,
Well, and
Just
the
to let
point
that-
being is,
That's a
if,
belief you're
let
holding.
that go.
You don't have
We
to
just-
hold that
We
belief.
just let that go then, because it's,
and if we really just stayed in the moment, every moment would bring an experience of peace and enjoyment,
Absolutely.
right? But it's
instead of
bringing the
lo-
past
a
and
feeling of
future.
loss, well, when you say, I wish it had been like last summer, they talk about the weather and, get
Sure.
upset about
Yep.
whatever, so, okay.
Right, and at the same time, be very aware, we're afraid of the blank slate. So filling it with all these stories really keeps us very entertained, whether we like it or not. Keeps us very busy.
The thought of the pie, the anticipation of the pie gives me a lot of joy, right? Like in
It
that
could be,
world,
yeah, yeah.
I like the thought of what's that gonna taste like, so
Doesn't
Are we
taste
to
the way
not-
I imagine.
are we to try to,
No, I would
Not
say,
doing that?
no, we're going to do that. And then if you are disappointed, then stop then and go, oh, wow, look at that. That was because I anticipated this and I decided it was going to be thus and so, which then literally keeps me from really tasting the pie as it tastes now.
That's right.
Yeah.
Then, because we're gonna let go, I mean, as, moving up the ladder, we might wanna let go of these, things that we're addicted to and that we think we want all the time, and how nothing is gonna be,
Right.
The way you
nothing
want
is
it.
really the way you want it to be.
Right.
And I think a lot of the things, it's not me giving them up, it's a lot of the things will just fall away because the attraction for them is no longer there.
Right.
All right, now on to paragraph 4, and we did not read this one before, so I will go through it line by line. It is impossible to accept the holy instant without reservations unless, just for an instant, you are willing to see no past or future. You cannot prepare for it without placing it in the future. Release is given you the instant you desire it. Many have spent a lifetime in preparation and have indeed achieved their instances of success. This course does not attempt to teach more than they learned in time, but it does aim at saving time. You may be attempting to follow a very long road to the goal you have accepted. It is extremely difficult to reach atonement by fighting against sin. Enormous effort is extended in the attempt to make holy what is hated and despised. Nor is a lifetime of contemplation and long periods of meditation aimed at detachment from the body. Where's the next line? Okay. All such attempts will ultimately succeed because of their purpose, yet the means are tedious and very time-consuming, for all of them look to the future for release from a state of present unworthiness and inadequacy. Now, this is a packed paragraph. Let me tell you this about that. All right. It is impossible to accept the holy instant without reservations unless, just for an instant, you are willing to see no past or future. What he's describing here is that moment where you literally come to empty hands with, I don't know. Did you have your hand up, or were you just dangling, right? All right,
Which
but
is another way of surrendering.
which is another way of surrender, correct. And this is what the Course is leading us to. Some of the other things that this paragraph will talk about are other ways that other teachings, other spiritualities have attempted to do it, and it will go on to say that there's anything wrong with doing those, but the Course offers a different way, which is a much faster way, if you choose to use the Course. You cannot prepare for it without placing it in the future. Okay, and what that means is if I have a preconceived idea of how the problem I'm dealing with now should be solved, I'm already placing it in the future. When I come with empty hands and say, I don't know, I'm done. I've washed my hands. And this is where the Course is asking us to spend as much time as possible when we're ready to do that. All right, and then he says, release is given you the instant you desire it. And the release comes because I don't have any preconceived ideas of anything. I don't know at that moment. All right, so now it's talking about some of the other ways of doing this. Many have spent a lifetime in preparation and have indeed achieved their instances of success. So again, he's not judging or attacking other plans, because all plans with the desire will take you to that what your choice is. This Course does not attempt to teach more than they've learned in time, but it does aim at saving time. So this Course is talking about a process of saving time by doing it through the lens that we're being asked to look through. You may be attempting to follow a very long road to the goal you have accepted. And again, there's many ways. Many of them are a very long road, but if you desire it enough, you will accomplish it. It is extremely difficult to reach atonement by fighting against sin. Basically, what that means is when you resist evil, which is fighting against sin, you've decided you know the answer, and you're going to fight the other experience, which will keep you from being in the moment, which will bring you the quickest form of healing.
Can I ask what atonement means?
Okay,
Is it just a
atonement.
word in payment?
I wrote that down here. Yeah. In a nutshell, it's the Holy Spirit's plan of correction to undo the ego and heal the belief in separation. Okay, because we believe in the separation, we live in the separation, we play, act, and respond in the separation, and the atonement is showing us there's another way, and that other way is to get out of the way.
So in the Course, it talks about there's only one problem
One solution.
and one solution.
Right.
The problem is the belief in separation. The solution is that it never happened.
Right.
But you've got to believe that with all of your being.
Yeah. And, this line, it is extremely difficult to reach atonement by fighting against sin. But isn't that what we're always doing? When we think I've got the answer and you don't, and I've got to prove to you what my answer is and why mine's better than yours. And isn't that the game that gets played out all across the world, in wars, in our homes, in our workplace, everywhere? We're always trying to prove that I'm right and you're wrong, which means there's two of us, and if I'm right, you're wrong, there's duality, and if they're right and I'm wrong, there's still duality. When I step over to oneness, I'm saying, I want to know what oneness is instead of who's right and who's wrong. Totally different experience.
You're always trying to dethrone somebody.
Always trying to
You have
dethrone
be-
somebody.
You have to be king of the mountain on top.
Correct.
Yeah, but you guys are dealing with the body, and if you go to the mind, you're all the same.
There you go,
Yeah,
yes.
it's
Yeah.
inclusiveness.
It's inclusiveness, yes. And I think it's like, I don't even think most of us are aware that we're playing this game of I want to be on top of the mountain. But we really are playing that game when we're playing in the dualistic experience. And there's actually a line in the Course that says, in the world, you could be having a confrontation and you could be right, but you're still wrong because you're still playing in duality instead of oneness.
Yeah.
And that's pretty powerful.
It's like, but we've always done it this way.
Well,
You know,
exactly,
and when I hang on to that,
exactly,
no,
exactly,
that.
absolutely, yeah. And it's real hard for us little mortals to let go of the
Right.
way that we think is right. I love the concept of the metric system. They tried to bring that to the U.S., 30 years ago or whatever, and it just wasn't a go, because our way is the way we're going to do it. And I mean, I don't like metric because it makes me forces me to change either, but the bottom line is that's kind of how we play the whole world. Yeah. And oftentimes unbeknownst that we're playing these games on top of that.
I think that's the main thing, is we never realized what we were doing, that we were actually wasting a lot of time trying to prove
Big
that we
time.
were right about something.
Big
Or
time.
even in a conversation with someone who has another feeling about
Viewpoint.
religion,
Right.
I think when you hit that button and there's no sense wasting your time because you're having this, just absolutely opposed to whatever that person's saying. You're not gonna get anywhere.
You're brain dead.
Or you're gonna get mad, and then tell them, I mean, this is my own family, how we just
Sure.
can't say anything. And I guess the only thing that you get out of it, which I have to attest to, is you get peace.
There must be another way.
You
Yes.
get some
Yes.
peace. You're like,
Yeah.
well, I don't know. They're going on and on. I feel peace. I don't know what they're doing.
Doesn't
and
matter.
that's
It's
a
not up
safe-
to you.
That's a very safe place to be. It's as if the
Exactly.
Holy Spirit has wrapped me up in gauze or something and said, you don't have to jump into this and that. You don't have to be a part of all that. You can just say, I don't know, and or feel like it's not important to have that fight or have that discussion with somebody.
Yep.
And that's where you're actually, what you talked about last week on your show, I'm gonna say. So what you talked about last week, somebody asked a question about, so when you do that, when you take the healing and you ask, then you're actually putting all that energy about the world and what's going on, you're putting it aside.
Absolutely.
And you're entering another dimension.
Exactly.
And you think, people think, oh, we're giving that up, we're gonna, but you're entering another dimension where all things are possible, and you don't have to prove it, and you don't have to argue
Nope.
with anybody. And
Nope.
how you get to be at peace, that still is an issue if you're feeling badly that, you've left them behind or whatever.
Well, then you're still not in a place to completely accept peace when that game's being played. It's just a shadow of the deal.
When the peace is there, nothing else matters,
No.
and the people who thought they were gonna be all wrapped up, it just all kind of, everybody, you like lower all the temperature in the room, period, and that's oneness.
Yep.
Oneness gets a hold of you and hold on, and you like, oh, well, this is oneness, so I'm not gonna holler at them, it's
Yep.
not worth it.
So Marianne?
Yep.
There are things that are collectively true in the dream.
That is correct. A lot
So,
of things.
Like a very simple example would be, we're on a planet, we're on what we
Okay.
call Earth.
It appears to be, while we believe in the
That's a shared
illusion.
belief
Yes,
of
correct.
of the collective dream.
Yep.
So,
And the Course says, there's no world, absolutely. This is the central theme.
That none of
that
this
we're
is real.
trying to put out here. You don't have to accept it, but that's what it's pointing to.
Yes. And
This
and
is
it-
a puppet.
if the Course was referring to your statement, it would say, it seems to be that we're all collectively living on this planet. But we're not. And so all the conflicts that occur seemingly on this planet are collective experiences of keeping the dream going. And, with Andrea's comment about her family, when any one of us stops, it's like playing, tug of war. If one of you lets go of the ropes, the game is over with you. Somebody else could go find somebody else to play with, but for you, the game is over. You've got peace. If that other person needs somebody else to argue with, they'll just walk down the street and find somebody else to play the game.
Right, Mary Ann, but what I'm
Okay.
trying to get at is those are both true at the same time. One's true from the perspective of the collective dream.
Okay.
The other one is true of true reality.
The body.
And the Course would say, while you believe in separation, there appears to be two choices, but ultimately only one's real. So ultimately, that's all there is. There's really only one that's real, that there is no earth. But while you believe there is separation, you're going to believe there's earth, and you're going to believe all the other stories that come down the pike as well.
So let me add to this a little bit then.
Sure.
So, let's say there's an earthquake, right? The effects of that are real to the people in the dream.
No question.
And the earth is shaking.
Correct.
So,
Which is all
Part of your dream.
part of the dream, and it gets you to believe it's real.
I'm not saying it's real. Real is
It does.
true reality. I'm distinguishing between true reality.
If you're
and
distinguishing
reality in the
between,
dream.
okay, go ahead.
So the reality of the dream is there's an earthquake.
Mm-hmm.
The earth shaking can affect me. It can kill me actually if I'm in the wrong place.
But you're not, that's not who you are.
But I'm not talking about my true self. I'm not talking about my true self.
Well, you've got two selves.
I'm talking about the reality, that's what's
And in-
true.
Which seems to be true when you believe in the separated state.
Seems that makes more sense. It seems
Yes.
to be true when you believe in the separated state.
Yes.
Yes.
And the separated state is an illusion.
Yes.
That's an illusion. It isn't real.
When I wake up from the dream,
There's
it
nothing,
didn't
right.
happen.
Right.
If you would wake up. That's your choice.
And this Course is really not about fixing the world and making it better. It's about coming to a time when we literally wake up from the dream, and nothing of the dream will disturb our peace, because we will know completely who we are.
Yeah, and that dream has a certain reality. It has a certain
While I
characteristics
believe in it,
that
yes.
You can argue that are
Sure.
either exist or don't exist, but they.
The fear that comes with it is what you really believe in. Otherwise, you could let it pass by.
Yeah, I'm not talking about that. But
I finally woke up to the fact I could be in any situation, and whatever is going on around me, I can still be at peace.
Right.
And that's where I want to be.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't like arguing as much as I used to.
And she still likes to, but.
Yeah.
And we all do.
Yes.
She's so lucky she
So if
has.
you go out and you trip and fall and break your
What's the
hand,
other way?
you go to the emergency room.
Absolutely.
You do what you gotta do, and if there's an earthquake, you.
Do what you gotta do, exactly.
When you talk about feeling and reality, you're talking about our bodies again.
Absolutely. And right now, we're not asked to deny that that's my experience. And yes, you would go to the doctor, you'd call the EMS and have them fix you up. If there's an earthquake, you would, pull in and do whatever you could to make it okay for yourself. But keep bringing it back to, I want to know who I really am. And that's the part that's so important. You do in the world what you do in the world, but keep asking to have your mind healed, because eventually when your mind is healed, you'll know the world as we believe it now is not our true reality.
so apply that to COVID.
Same thing.
That was a collective.
Absolutely. It was
experience.
collected, but almost everybody had a different experience about it.
You were alone in your experience. You had to figure out, am I gonna wear a mask? It was all
Yeah.
you. What am I, Jesus, what are we doing today?
Yep. And why don't they wear a mask? You know, I had people, well, you know, you're too close to me, go step back there, you know, whatever it may be. Everybody, even though that was truly, a worldly collective experience, probably much more so than most anything else we've experienced in our lifetimes. But we still individually had our own experience of what that was and what it represented.
But there are things that led up to that. That we don't live in a vacuum. There are
True.
things that definitely led up to that happening. So you can't deny those things as well. So there is a certain truth or a reality of the dream that exists.
And while we're in the dream, there always will be. And that's why I suggest, and Ken suggested, live in the world normally, but keep asking to have your mind healed. Because as you have your mind healed, all the problems, one problem, one solution, all the problems that come with the belief in duality start to fade away because you're choosing for oneness more and more frequently versus always choosing for duality and always perpetuating the issues of the world. So keep on doing what you do, but keep on asking to have your mind healed that believes you are separated. And you don't even pretend you don't believe we're separated. You know, stub your toe. Don't believe your body, you know, has somebody punch you in the arm. Oh.
The
Yeah.
whole world's a distraction. So the fact is, I exist and it's not my fault.
Right. Yes.
That's
And
what it's all
if
about.
it's not my fault, it sure as heck is yours. And when I'm doing that, I'm taking my brother, and actually I'm going to be reading a section that Ken talked about that very much applies to this. So instead of talking, I think let's do a 10-minute break and we'll come back and do some more.
Seems like